Yuta Okotsu, the prodigy sorcerer of the modern era. Today, my brothers and sisters, I wanted to get into this discourse about Yuta because he is someone that we should expect a lot from in Jujutsu Kaisen. Right now, with the death of Gojo Satoru in the manga, there is a good amount of things that we should expect to see from the next generation of the strongest. And guess who leads that next generation? It's Yuta. He is the sorcerer's insurance card. He is the last remaining special grade for the society, and he naturally is one of the big three heavy hitters that Kenjaku puts on high alert. Yuta is such an interesting character because he is basically like the first MC of the story and one of the strongest characters in the story. Yuta is humble, stoic, and a little too uninterested in himself. However, he is without a doubt strong. But as of chapter 241, unfortunately, Yuta has been under some criticism for his lack of involvement throughout these recent fights. You guys are likely familiar with Agenda Kaisen, 5-Minute Fraudster, Fraud Kotsu, Ghost Kotsu. Yuta's on his way back to Africa. Yuta might be top 7. It's pretty wild out there, and it's really not just Yuta who suffers from mountains and mountains of slander. You can take other characters like the farmer slayer Kashimo, but you have to admit it's a really funny time to be a JJK fan right about now. But I really wanted to focus in on Yuta. When it comes to Yuta, something should be different about how he debuts into this fight. It probably won't follow the same formula like for someone like Kashimo. Whether he faces off against Kenjaku or helps in his fight against Sukuna, his role should be pivotal going forward into his upcoming fights. When you dwell on our opponents left in the series, we only really have two big antagonists left to fight, Sukuna and Kenjaku. Sukuna is one thing, but Kenjaku specifically recognizes Yuta, Maki, and Akari as potential threats to him. He cannot just off-screen them like he can all these other riff-raff Koen game players. Kenjaku knows when he fights them, it's going to be tough and require a substantial amount of effort. Kenjaku literally has a whole detection system in place in order to monitor who leaves Shinjuku, and definitely keeps tabs on Yuta and wildcards like Maki and Yui who can show up at any time. The problem for Yuta and the rest of the gang is even if they hunt down Kenjaku, it won't be an easy fight either. And if they throw everything they can at him, what will they have left for Sukuna? See, with Yuta, no matter how you see him, his strength is a huge part of the sorcerer's team. And that's one reason why Maki was so hesitant to send Yuta out. If they lose Yuta, it's like they lose a third of their strength on their side. Yuta has a lot going for him. I feel his aura is different than other characters, and his strength speaks for itself from what we've seen. An enormous cursed energy pool, the second highest in the series. Yuta has virtually all the Jujutsu skills in the power system, including reverse curse technique healing, curse tool usage, shikigamis like Rika, multiple curse techniques, black flash, and even a fully refined domain expansion. Yuta is utterly remarkable as a sorcerer and has everything plus more to have potential to reach the pinnacle of the Jujutsu world. Even the narrator says that Yuta is second to Gojo in unusual abilities, which would of course mean Jujutsu. Yuta's Jujutsu/supernatural abilities are second to Gojo in this modern age, and that is nothing to scoff at. Being directly compared to Gojo in that regard is very impressive, and I understand this statement causes a lot of debate for around 2 years now. However, it's no reason to belittle Yuta if you think characters like Yuki, Maki, and especially Akari are stronger than him. I mean, Yuta just outright says that Akari is stronger than me while on a roll, which would mean his jackpot. Then Maki calls cap, and it's a whole mess, and you guys know the rest of it. But despite Gege's roundabout measure for Yuta's strength, he may leave the question for who is the second strongest kind of open, because we have those characters like Maki and Akari who now have reached a high level, and we see feats and strength from them that show why they are among this big three of Jujutsu High. And Yuji's on his way too. But I think it is safe to assume that overall, Yuta is actually the second strongest on their side after Gojo's death and defeat. However, Yuta does have his downsides, which we will talk about as well. Yuta is probably the single most stacked sorcerer in terms of abilities. He has Mimicry, which is a very versatile curse technique, and he can harness and master the curse techniques of different people like Inumaki's Curse Speech, Daru's Shikigami, and Uro's Sky Manipulation. And knowing this, Yuta can also store these curse techniques along with an endless supply of cursed energy using Rika Orimoto as a storage system and a medium. Unfortunately though, Gege had to hit Yuta with a balance patch in the current story, and now Yuta can only access access Rika and this bonus cursed energy reserve and cursed technique usage for 5 minutes, which isn't terrible, but it's definitely a sacrifice. Now, obviously, Yuta has not pulled up as to any recent battles as of late in the manga. Akari showed up, Yuji showed up, even Haguruma showed up, a sorcerer with a little under 2 months of experience and a law degree showed up before Yuta. Hell, even Takaba is fighting Kenjaku right now, well before Yuta, and it's looking like Takaba is going to show us a little bit of something before this fight is said and done. Gege is definitely saving Yuta for bigger and better things. Not only is it a very strategic move for Yuta to enter this fight later in the battle, but it also gives him a chance to show more of his arsenal and just what he has been cooking for why the cast has so much faith in him. Yuta is able to utilize copied curse techniques, fully realize Rika, and unleash a boundless amount of cursed energy, and even expand his domain within the course of 5 minutes. If Yuta's limiter still applies when fighting foes like Kenjaku, they're gonna need to make sure they use the best out of him possible, hence why Maki labels him as the insurance. It'd be extremely handy to have a sorcerer that has a huge source of cursed energy. He's also a healer, and all around he'd have abilities that make him an absolute unit of a special grade. That's definitely someone you do not want to lose. So when he does fight, he could have use in dealing with Sukuna, and Yuta seems to have no problem in helping to jump him. You know, I'd mentioned that Ryu feat and how a sorcerer who gave Yuta quite the work was packed up and 2-tapped, but at this point, everyone is a Sukuna victim. They have to jump him and do everything they can to stop that monster. However, with what's been set up with Yuta's character and what's been foreshadowed again and again, Yuta's eventual confrontation with Kenjaku is legendary. He openly proclaims that he will kill Kenjaku, and Kenjaku himself sees Yuta and his team as a threat, but does not think that they can stop him. Yuta can't be the next Satoru Gojo. This is probably like the 2nd to 3rd highest beef in the series, next to Sukuna versus Gojo or Sukuna versus Yuji. Gege might as well just have spelled it out for us that Yuta versus Kenjaku is happening, and I'd be very disappointed if it at least didn't happen in some way. Yuta is literally blessed, but what will all those blessed talents mean if he can't do anything in the most important battle of Jujutsu Kaisen? It's not even a question if Yuta will intervene, he will. It's 100% certain he will intervene. Yuta's selfishness is different than that of Gojo's. Many of you guys may have caught on that Gojo did not necessarily die for them. Gojo did not sacrifice his life for anyone else, but he died for his own self-affirmation, fighting the strongest Sukuna. Incredibly selfish, yes, but that is how Gojo is. However, Gojo does have something for his students to do, something he cannot do on his own, and he can't do for them. He raised strong and intelligent allies to fight for the next generation, people who are able to surpass him and keep up in this ongoing battle against curses and evil. And now more than ever, it's evident that this is their time to prove themselves. Yuta is no exception. Next to Yuji, he is a poster child for a student raised to reach Gojo's level and lead the next generation. Yuta himself will do everything in his power to protect the people close to him. Overall, I think Yuta is our sorcerer's trump card in order to help in this war against Kenjaku and Sukuna. More than likely, Yuta will probably have a hand in personally dealing with Kenjaku. It's been set up perfectly, it's been heavily hinted, and I can't think of a more fitting confrontation between them. Yuta will get his time to shine, and you bet when it comes down to it, it will be glorious. But please let me know down below what you awesome brothers and sisters think in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Yuta, who he will face, and how things will work out toward the end of Jujutsu Kaisen. But this has been Enemy Stand User, and I'll see you awesome brothers and sisters in the next one. Bye-bye.